How you doing, YouTube? It's Jay here again with another episode of Talking About Detecting. This is number 4, and it's about rules, regulations, guidelines, laws, things of that nature regarding metal detecting. And it's something that I feel pretty strongly about, and there are many people out there who do not agree with me and feel like, there's certain wiggle room with different guidelines and things that you do. But, I'm going to tell you today what the general laws, general regulations, and guidelines of the art of metal detecting kind of encompass. So, I guess what we can do is we can start it in thinking about it in this way. So, you have a 3-tiered kind of system here. Let's think about this. Up here, you have laws, right? So laws are the immutable things that you cannot change, no matter what. If you break the law, you can be fined, you can be arrested, you can have things confiscated from you. You are you have to know what the laws are regarding where you're detecting and what you're doing. Laws may also encompass what you're allowed to dig with, where you're allowed to dig. For instance, there's laws in most beach communities where you can metal detect on the beach, but there are dunes that are usually before any of the buildings come up or anything like that. And the dunes are usually off limits because they are breakwaters, I guess, for whatever reason, and they don't want anyone messing up the dunes. So if a cop walks by and you're swinging away on one of the dunes, and I didn't know I wasn't supposed to be on the dunes, officer. Doesn't matter. You got to know the laws. So when you're planning on going out anywhere, and you're looking into a situation, certain area, different municipalities, it's very important that you research all of the laws regarding the metal detecting and what you're going to be doing. So just so we're clear on that, it is your responsibility to know the laws in a certain area. Nobody else's. Okay? They don't have to post them. They don't have to, have a skywriting plane go by in the sky above you. You have to know the laws before you get there. Okay? So very important. And that's pretty much the only thing that you can say about laws. They can't be changed. They've been passed by, lawmakers or whatever in Capitol Hill or wherever the local legislation is. If you want the laws changed, you can always, go through your local congressman or representative or whatever it is, and you can see if you can get those laws changed. But it's important to know all federal, state, county, and municipal laws regarding where you're detecting. So, I already gave you a good example with the beaches, and just kind of go from there. The next thing would be regulations. Regulations. Regulations are more on the trying to. For some reason, I'm very tongue-tied today. I'm not sure why. Regulations are more involved in who owns the land, who manages the land. So, for instance, a couple of the state parks that I metal detect in, they have regulations about what you're allowed to dig with. They don't like shovels. They don't want huge holes being dug. So they only allow screwdrivers, ice picks, something with really long pronged. Like I usually use a weeder. It's hard. I'm not going to lie. It sucks. But guess what? Those are the regulations that those state parks have put down as what they want to see happen. I've actually talked to a couple of the managers over the years, and I've told them that it actually is worse to dig with something of that nature than it is to dig with a shovel, because it's easier to backfill the holes after you've shoveled it out. You just take the dirt and put it right back in. But, for some reason in their mind they have it that that's it. But that's the regulation, right? So if you ask for permission on an owner's land and the owner says, okay, I want you to dig because I lost my wedding ring, 20 years ago, and it's in this area over here. But I don't want you to dig on the front lawn because the front lawn is, really well manicured. And 2 hours later, he comes home from the from the store and he sees you out on the front lawn swinging away and digging holes, what's going to happen? You're going to get kicked the hell off, and he might even call the cops on you. But my point is, regulations are more specifically tailored to where you're actually metal detecting at. So those are regulations that you'd have to speak with the business owner, the landowner, or the property manager, whatever it is that you're looking for, to see what their particular regulations are regarding their area. So those are regulations. But by far the most important of the three things, I know laws, you might say laws are the most important, but to me, the most important is the guidelines part. Because guidelines go into being a good citizen, to being thoughtful of your fellow man. And there are certain things about metal detecting that you need to think of when you're building your guidelines rule. Now, some people will have different guidelines. Like, for instance, my guidelines for beach hunting is a little bit different than when I'm in the woods. Because when I'm beach hunting, I don't really care how big the hole is. It's easy to just fill it back in with sand. It's no problem. I'm still going to backfill the holes, but as far as the size of the hole, I'm not too worried about it. But a guideline that I have in the forest is that I try to make the holes as small as possible. Sometimes that's not always possible, but because it might be hard to find the target, but I still try. Another thing would be backfilling the holes. That's a good guideline. Technically speaking, not too many people, as far as regulations or laws are concerned, there's no law in the book that says you have to backfill holes. Once you dig a hole, you could just leave it, walk away from it if you want to be lazy. But then let's say that there's a person running through the forest and they step into one of your holes that you just dug, and or that you dug last week, because it's still there, doesn't go away, doesn't just fill magically with dirt by itself. If it's a 8-inch hole or something in the ground, they fall into it and turn their ankle, and then they're in the middle of the forest with a turned ankle and they got to limp their way out of the friggin' forest. That's what you got to think about. Every time you dig a hole and you walk away from it and you don't refill it, there's hikers, there's people walking through those woods all the time. So think about it. Another guideline would be picking up the trash that you find. Not everybody does that. Some people just, find trash, and, I found little piles of metal detectors trash, and that they're metal detectors trash because it's all metal. It's all cans and bottle caps, and they'll just take it and dump it all on the ground. Oh, I found all this stuff. But I'm too lazy to walk 20 feet to a trash can and just throw it out. So I'm just going to dump it on the ground here and leave it. I mean, that's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that's going to get metal detecting banned forever. That's what I'm talking about. So the guidelines are the things that when a property manager or a park manager is looking at metal detecting, and they know in their mind the experiences that they've had with metal detecting. Are they positive experiences or are they negative experiences? That's what you have to think about. Are they either or? Which one are they? If they're positive experiences, maybe they'll actually expand the use of metal detectors. Maybe they'll allow them in different areas. Maybe, and I've actually heard of this, but I've never been a part of it, unfortunately, but hopefully I will someday. Maybe when they have a historical hunt for artifacts, that they actually want to find artifacts in certain areas, and they call those local metal detecting communities that they know all of these people are good, honest people who do things the right way. They send an email out to the manager of that group, and they say, hey, we're going to be looking for some old Revolutionary War artifacts in Valley Forge, and anybody who finds it gets credit for finding it. That would be effing awesome, right? But will that happen if everybody's just willy-nilly doing whatever the hell they please out there and, not backfilling holes and not doing what they're supposed to do? No, it won't happen. So that's where guidelines come into play for me. I feel like guidelines are important in that aspect, in that they really need to be followed, and there needs to be a good, honest, working knowledge of what you're going to be doing before you go out there. What I like to do as far as trash is I take a shopping bag, a plastic shopping bag, and I'll tie one of the loops around my belt loop on my right side, or my left side. My right side has my pro pointer. So as I'm just picking up trash, I'll throw it in the bag, and then maybe halfway through I might have a little bag of trash. I'll just dump it into a trash can and start over with it. But that's the kind of stuff that's important. That's what's going to give us a good name. That's what's going to get metal detecting expanded rather than more hindered, which is what's happening. Because I feel like as time goes on, it gets more and more closed off to people rather than more and more open to people. Mainly because there's a lot of people out there who don't know what they're doing and who don't watch videos like this and just don't research what they're supposed to be doing out there. So like I said, laws, regulations, guidelines. Very important that you follow those things every time that you're out there. And hopefully this video helps. And if there's any questions, obviously leave me a comment. And I will get back to you. Hopefully you enjoyed. And next up, in episode number 5, will be about researching good spots. And I'm sure that everybody's looking forward to that because, I don't even really know how to, I don't have any secret knowledge. It's just hard work. But I'll show you a couple of things that I do, some of the key phrases and search words that you can use especially when you're searching online. And we'll kind of go from there. Till next time, happy hunting.